morning, gang. Good morning, and very, very, very quiet Asakusa this morning. Finally, they're starting to close this city down. The governor, 2 days ago, she asked for, it's totally voluntary, she asked for people to stay inside this weekend. It was funny. On Thursday, she made this announcement. Next weekend, please stay inside. She didn't say like tomorrow, Friday, don't go to work or anything. She said, when it gets to the weekend, stay home. Whatever. At last, the theater down the street, which has been packed with old folks day after day after day, is finally closed for a couple of days. But I noticed around the corner, we can see here the bars and stuff in Hokkei. I was out just a minute ago. And they're still getting ready for business, so the bars around the corner are going to still get running. They think that this doesn't apply to them. Their food supplies. Okay, let's do some carving today. I enjoyed the stream the other day, that printing back in the back room here. I had good fun doing that, printing those cat buses. It's hashiburi. We might be doing more next week, I'm not really sure. The paper is not out. The paper is not out. On the freezer upstairs, the chart for today shows no yellow bats. Our staff is doing what the governor has asked, stay home. There are no printers here today, there's just me. The shutter, of course, is going to be closed all day long. Okay, let's pick up where we left off, whatever it was, a bunch of days ago. It's the 8 views of cats. We did the clearing on one of the great blocks a few days ago. I think I have the original, not the original, I have this is this one to show. Yeah, this is the block. Zoom in a bit. Backwards. It's a different scale here. You see, there's the waterfall, as you can see it on the other side. This way here, it's not on the other one, below the cat's chin. A distant mountain. So that's one. We have another one, which we'll be doing this morning. That's on the back side, where we'll be chopping it away. But before I do that, we're going to skip off a little bit and finish off one of the ones I did the other day. I started the other day, on the river block, I cut a space and hammered it out, and now we're going to finish clearing off around it. And then we'll flip that over and we'll do the same thing. There's the cat touche block and another part of the cat. So we'll cut those today. Let's start with this one. Birthday, somebody's birthday? Boop, 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 boop. I missed this already. Somebody's birthday. Happy birthday, K. K. Ah, Karen. Hi. Happy birthday. We don't need to use numbers here, do we? Actually, let me make it just, the camera's adjusted for that printing the other day. Hang on a second, just wait. Okay, let's get that more stable. Come on guys, let's get busy here. Let's get busy. Actually, this is going to be easy, just a little tiny bit of cutting here. It's going to be over in seconds. I've done this backwards, to avoid the noise on the stream. I've done the wide clearing. I did that before. Normally we cut the lines first. Step 2 is the wide clearing, and step 3 is we clear way up to the lines. But to avoid having noise on the stream this morning, I did the wide clearing over the past few minutes before we started today. It's a bit dangerous because with the lines not cut, you've got to be careful with the chisel. So I've kept a little bit farther away than I might normally do. So step 2 is done. Now we'll do step 1, and then we'll do step 3. And I have no idea still what color, if any, this cat touche will be. But we're going to cut it just so we've got it when the printers start printing. They've got the option to use it. It's much easier to prepare it and then have it ready than not have it. And the other area in this block, it's going to be one of the gray shadings on the cats. And this is sort of reserved. I'm not sure about this. We talked about under the cat's chin. It's already on one of the other blocks. I'm still not sure what to do with it. So I've got this extra one in reserve. And it could be that we'll be printing a gradation combined under the cat's chin. Let me pop that up again just for 1 second if I remember which one it is. Here, okay, you see this. Under the cat's, this is under the cat's chin. The cat's head is here. And then there's the, what is it, sort of haunches or whatever. So it could be that it'll be a gradation across the bottom of these together. I haven't yet been able to figure it out or see it. So this area now appears on 2 blocks. So we could be cutting this off later on and just doing some gradation on here. I'm not sure. Again, we're keeping options open at this point. Cat touche color, no idea. Just like I said, the option is there. We're just preparing wood at the moment, and we'll do lots of different colors when we do some testing. Got the sushi cats. Is the paper a bit more delicate? No, it's the same paper we've been using for all of our Ukiyo-e Heroes prints, but what we did before I sent it to Chihara-san for printing that one, same thing I did last night with her next job. I put that paper through the press and I calendared it. So the paper has been actually artificially sort of smoothed and thinned a little bit. There's a few reasons to do this. One, we really wanted nice smooth colors on this, and the paper was quite rough on the top surface, so we wanted to calendar it. But 2, also, there's lots of wood grain on that print, and it's carved wood grain. Not printing wood grain from a piece of wood, it's carved wood grain. And on the first test prints that weren't with calendared paper, that wood grain was just too bumpy. And it looked really silly. When you held the print under the light, the wood grain was sort of just 3-dimensional, and it looked unnatural. But after we did the calendaring on the paper, the wood grain is still there. It's still a tiny bit embossed, but nothing that would be a disruptive visual. They still have the Olympic flags up. Give us a break. People are busy with some other stuff right now, The Olympic flags can be... Well, basically, the governor made it an interesting comment the other day. After the Olympics thing had been cancelled, she or somebody in the top of the said there, that instead of printing again all the banners, instead of printing all the posters, instead of printing all the tickets, The Olympics next year in Tokyo is still going to be called Tokyo 2020. They made this announcement in order to avoid reprinting everything. The tickets are still going to be valid, so they say, but the actual dates, June 22nd or something, would obviously have to change, but it's absolute chaos. One of the real big problems they have now is the Athletes' Village. They built this Athletes' Village condominium thing, had it ready for the Olympics, and the idea was once the athletes are gone, they renovate it and sell it. They've sold most of them already. People are expecting to move in like October 1st. Now what do you do? I was a bit afraid that when 8 o'clock came this morning, we would have a whole bunch of construction noise happening. As you can see the outside view there, you can see a bit of a post. There's a yellow black striped post there at the right hand side of the view. That's my next door neighbor. It's the kimono rental shop. And at the moment, the owner of that building has chosen to do some renovations up at the top of the building on the roof and on the third floor. They're renovating, I think, the front surface of the building. They're replastering, repainting or something. So they've got scaffolding up. You know, the downstairs business is still up and running. The business is open, but they've got scaffolding up on there. That's what you're seeing there. But I was afraid that come 8 o'clock, the rule is 8 to 8 for making noise. You can't start earlier than 8 in the morning. You're supposed to be finished by 8 at night. Although the past few nights they've been way late. They've been running till about midnight. I was afraid they were going to start this morning at 8 o'clock, and they haven't so far. Because of the closures, maybe they're going to give it a rest for a couple of days. It's calendar. We use an actual press. We use a very lightweight etching press for our calendaring. And we put plastic mylar sheets in the press, blanket on top. The paper goes between the mylar sheets and gets a smooth, smooth, smooth surface on top. No, shop is closed. Absolutely, shop is closed. So the shop itself is closed and the parties are closed. Everything is shut down. A couple of the printers, some of the printers work at home. They always have been working at home. We're now down to 3. Kawai-san's working at home. We're now down to Rei-chan and Ishikawa-san and Ayumi-san still want to work here. They're off this weekend because the governor has asked for the town to be closed. That may get extended depending on how the numbers of virus cases increase. Tokyo has had an increase over the past few days. Every day has been seen an increase, which is why they're shutting for the weekend. So next week, we don't know. It's too soon to call. If our people have to work home, they work at home. But over and above the question of making the prints, now the larger question looms is sending them. We had that campaign last week and lots of orders came and we sent the prints off, but I've been watching every morning the websites from the different postal systems around the world. And as you can well imagine, it's getting tight. And some various postal systems now are not accepting inbound mail. So we've had to stop accepting orders from certain countries, Italy, Spain, and the big question mark, of course, is America. I checked their website again this morning, and it seems to say it's okay, but other countries, the German post office website is saying they are no longer accepting stuff for delivery to America, except letters, as in actual letters. And our stuff comes in what's called small packet. So it looks like we may not be able to ship to America. We're not really sure. Our subscription system works on a monthly basis, and so Cameron and I are going to watch this carefully. And the first of the month is Wednesday, and if on the first of the month the American Post Office is still accepting stuff, then we will try and run our subscription service for one more month. If the post office is not, then we will put it to bed. And at that point, our income then drops to 0. With the shop 0 and the online sales in the same position as subscriptions, if we can't ship, we're done. So we then put the business into a deep freeze. We'll find out in a few days whether we have to do that now or next month. And my decision at that point is, if the business is in the deep freeze as far as selling goes, do we keep at this end making those subscription prints and holding them ready for an expectation of business coming back to normal at some point? Or do I try and preserve my savings and just ask everybody to go home? We'll make those decisions over the next, whatever, the upcoming time. Our employees here fall into roughly two categories. A lot of them, the younger employees, almost all of them are living at home. They don't have an independent house with a mortgage and debts and stuff like that. People like you've met, Kawai-san, Shiba-san, they actually still live with their family at home. So if it turns out that there's no work for them, they're actually, okay. I don't have to think that they're going to be starving in the streets. We have another group, and it's very small, another group of people whose income is 100% from Neko Hakkei. And that's the number one is Cameron, with his family, wife and kid, and she's pregnant now, having a baby next month. So that's a critical consideration for us. We have to do what we can to maintain Cameron's job, of course. So even if subscriptions go down, I of course keep him on staff. There's no doubt about that. So he hangs on as long as we still have money in the bank. And the other people employed here who depend on this it's the young couple from Hong Kong, Rei-chan and Chon-san. She's working with us as a printer, and he works as a carver. He's carving the second one in the cat series as I speak. And their only income is Neko Hakkei. So I have to be careful with them too. I can't just say, sorry guys, see you later, come back later. I can't do that. So we have to try to take care of them too. So it's those three people, well those three, plus myself I guess, whose only income is from this business. So if we're scaling back and shrinking back, those are the people I have to take care of. Okay, next step. We've got our land and our seas, our oceans and our continents, and the continents stay flat and smooth. The seas now have to get the bottom surface of the oceans now have to be smoothed out. The finished block we saw, it's like this. The bottom of the sea has to be smooth so that when we're printing later, pigment doesn't catch on rough areas and build up. So next step this morning now, see these roughnesses, these lines, these have to be smoothed out. Question from last training, why whenever I finished printing I'd place the prints alternating right to left and left to right? Actually what I was doing was, they were upside down I think, right? How can I explain this? If I get, well okay, think about it. Here's the block. When we are making this print later, I'm going to be printing the river. The sheet of paper is this big. We pull them out of our stack, put water, put pigment on, and we print the river. The finished print then has a lot of extra water at the bottom area where the river was, but the sky hasn't been touched. During the time I was printing the river, the sky part actually was sort of drying out a bit. So I put that print into my recovery stack. Print the next one. Now if I put them into the stack one by one by one on top of each other, the bottom edge of the paper is going to get completely saturated and the top edge of the printing paper is going to be dry. But by alternating them heads and tails in my recovery stack, while it's waiting, ready for the next color to come up, those sheets of paper, the moisture is equalizing. Moisture seeps from one sheet to the next. So I end up with a stack of prints. Yesterday was only like 15 or something, no big deal. But when we're printing a real batch of 100 prints, by the time I've got to number 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they've all been nicely stacked, reversed to each other, and the moisture is now smoothed out again. So it's very important to us to keep the moisture in the stack as smooth and as even as possible. Yeah, it was tough because the cat bus was in the middle. So if that had been a real printing run with say 100 of them, what I would have done, I would have staggered them. Put one here, one there, one there, one here, one here, one there. So stagger the sheets rather than just straight up and down. Actually, I did do that a little bit. If you could see inside that stack I was doing yesterday, I didn't throw all the papers exactly on top of each other. But anyway, same difference. The idea is to equalize the moisture as much as possible. The bigger your stack is, the easier it is, because if you've got 100 sheets, it's going to take you whatever, an hour or so to get to the bottom of it. And the first ones, by the time you get to the bottom, the first ones will have evened out their moisture because it's been an hour since they were printed. That was a fun stream the other day, huh? I don't know, I was in a good mood or something, or I don't know. I guess it's the fact that it was different. We do the same thing here, day after day after day after day after day recently. What do I recommend getting blocks for beginners? I have no really easy answer. There's, trying to work with very hard wood at the beginning is really quite frustrating. It's not so good idea to look for vivid hard wood and try carving fine lines for a beginning attempt at printmaking. Using something like plywood, even my very first attempts were just wood. It was wood from the fireplace, Really don't know what to say here. Don't worry about getting wonderful hard cherry for your first attempts. Just explore with anything that's in your house already, or in the firewood pile, or at the home center, or something, anything. Don't sweat it. You don't need the official stuff, just to try some experiments to see if you sort of like the feeling of this, Were maps ever produced for woodblocks? Yes. Collecting Edo era maps is a big deal here. They come up on auctions all the time. I mean, remember, the woodblock was the printing method here in Japan for like 300 years. Anything that needed to be printed was done this way. Maps, catalogs, books, of course, food wrappers, you name it. Everything was done with woodblock printmaking. Everything. Up until the late 1800s. When presses arrived, and then the transition happened. And actually there's a story, I have no idea if this is true or not. I read a research paper, or an abstract of a research paper. This is decades and decades and decades ago. People who were trying to find the roots of color printing in Japan. The Chinese did color printing before the Japanese. They had it earlier. All the printing stuff came earlier. But the system they used for their color printing is a completely different technical system from the Japanese one. So the Japanese may have had the idea from Asian work, but the technique is something that was invented locally. The specific technique the Japanese used. And researchers who are interested in stuff have combed, old, whatever research materials, letters and documents and this and that and this and that. And they've tried to find the earliest examples, and they've tried to figure out who did this or who thought of it or how did it come about. And this paper that I remember reading, it had the solution, the answer, and it was maps that were first printed in Edo. The earliest woodblock prints, some of the kabuki stuff or whatever, they had been printed just with black outlines, and colors were added by hand, because there was no technique for printing colors, and maps and whatever were done the same way. But it seems that they found a bunch of early maps that did show the blue lines of the rivers in Tokyo that were actually printed. And this is really, really early, way before the ukiyo-e prints were coming out. So some map maker, little company producing maps, you can just see the guy tired of painting all these blue rivers. My God, there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a better way to do this. Instead of printing the blue rivers, and the key lines had already been carved. The map itself had already been carved. And he must have just somewhere figured out, paste one of these on a piece of wood, carve a new piece of wood for the blue. How do we line it up? Let's see just, well, if we line up the corners, it should be okay. So it seems that maps, at least according to some researchers, maps are the first examples of multicolored woodblock printmaking here in Japan. It's easy to hurt yourself. I'm not normally. I've got a cut on my finger that I made with a cutter knife the other day. Not much. Maybe in the early days when I was doing this, I was a bit careless. You put your finger down, you cut and slice into your finger, stuff like that. a normal craftsman of my type now, we don't draw blood in the normal course of work. Well, you can see what I'm doing now. I'm pushing the chisels. The chisels, for the most part, are pushed away. There's nobody out here to get hurt. So blood is not so much of an issue with us. When people are asking about, how do I do this, and whatever, other people will be offering advice in this stream, but if somebody will link the Acolytes page, that's the place to go. There's a Facebook page behind this stream that fans have set up, and it's a real place for exchanging information, for asking, like, where do I get this, how do I do this? So if somebody could link that, that's a very, very, very useful reference here. Then on, to boost my own website, over on woodblock.com, there's a library there with the full text of dozens and dozens and dozens of books about how woodblock prints are made. And that's woodblock.com. It's not /library, I forget what it is. Whatever, if you go to woodblock.com, just look around for the encyclopedia in the library, you'll find it in there. There's tons of information, full books, free to download, free to read, whatever, just read the stuff. And then of course there's YouTube. So there's an absolute mountain of information out there for anybody who wants to try. Am I home? Camera? Kitty, come on. Speaking of instruction materials and stuff, I got a bit of a surprise the other day. McLean's over in America there, one of the good supply shops for printmaking, McLean's in Oregon. Alex wrote me an email the other day, and she's been a good support of our work here. Like I said, it's mutually beneficial. People get interested in printmaking can watch the rest of the over there buy supplies, so I guess we help them as well. She's been supporting our work here. She takes our, she got my CD book, the PDF book, Your First Print. And she's had it on her website for many years, since it was first opened. She takes the discs from us wholesale, and she puts it on in her shop there. And she buys a batch at a time. Over many years, she's been constantly replenishing. And she's our single best salesperson for that book, the Your First Print. And when she ordered a batch more of the discs the other day, I went upstairs to the storeroom in Ome. I was there on Tuesday. And I found out that was the last batch. So I ordered, thousands and thousands of those discs years ago when I made that book. But that's it. The discs themselves are now pretty much out. And I won't be reprinting and reordering from Taiwan, China, the discs anymore. Because the format that book is prepared, it was a mixed media, multimedia PDF file, which back in whatever it was, back in 2008 or something, it was a good way to deliver material to people's computers, whether you were a Mac user or Windows user or whatever, through a rich media PDF. But these days with Android and iOS, there's much better ways to put that stuff out. So I won't be reprinting, reissuing those discs. It's too bad. It's a nice little book. It's really a useful little thing for people trying to start out. So it's waiting for me now to just restructure, take the same data and restructure it into something that would be usable on iOS. So I just have to turn it into an app, I suppose, is the best way. So. I got time for that. I think this face is now ready to move on to the test printing section. What we've got is a block for 2 printing areas. Let me pop up one of the where is it here? Just pop up one of those grays again. You can see the image as a whole, and what this block will be for, it'll print a bluish, blackish, grey tone for the river, and then it will also be used for a gradation coming up in this V of these mountains. This block is now moving on, ready to go to the printer's bench. The back side, oh, we've still got to clear away this area. Let's get back, I thought it was finished, so back to this part. Other side of that block. What? Bottom of the mountain, you've left some of the river. What are we talking about? Not sure what we're after here. Now this is the river block. And we're going to do a grade gradation in here. And we're leaving an area here. This is part of the... Pop it back up again. This is cat, and this is cat, and this is an area behind the 2 cats, and it'll be picking up a grey. I didn't put it into the sample on the left. Just checking. Hi. Looks question, born in Halifax? Yes. Did I spend much time there? 3 months. My parents come from Halifax, of course, and by the time I came along, they were living in London. He had a job, he was working as a musician in a dance orchestra, whatever they were called in those days, a dance orchestra in London. But when she got pregnant, he's working every night, so he can't hang around the house. So when she got pregnant, in order to help me, she went back home. I had to stay with her mother or whatever for a while. So I was born up in Halifax. And then I guess a few months later when she got stable, she went back down to London. So technically I was born in Halifax, but to a Halifax couple, so that's the roots. But no, I know nothing about it. You can hear my thick Yorkshire accent, of course. Now the houses, the places that my parents lived in Halifax, they're all gone. They were tenement houses left over from the Industrial Revolution era. This is not to belittle my parents, but when they talk about the houses they grew up in, they were tenement houses all in a row, downstairs, upstairs, no hot water, toilet down the road, that kind of stuff. They grew up in a different era, an absolutely different era. Now those buildings, those houses, of course, are long, long, long gone. When I was back there, I went back on a visit to visit my grandmother, one of my grandmothers. And I stayed with my grandmother for a few weeks, so I walked around Halifax to sort of look at it, and there's the hospital where I was born. And I tried to find the places where my parents grew up, and it was all gone. I guess one thing really, really different is it must have been in their day. It was, all the heating was coal and smokes, and every house had a coal fire and stuff. And the town must have been just black, black, black. All the public buildings that were made from this limestone stuff were just black. But by the time I went back there in the 1970s for a visit, that was all gone. There were no more coal stoves heating at home. Or it was all clean coal or something, whatever it was. So I saw this clean, happy, small little town, and I had heard stories about the blackness. My mother might be here. She's on the stream this morning. She could mention something about this. Not sure if my mother's here. Outside, tourists. I hear it. No idea. Deliveries? No idea. For the last couple of years here in the shop, it's been fun. Sometimes in the print parties, when we get into a print party, a couple of people from one country, people from another country, and at the start of the party, we're introducing ourselves, where you're from, how long you've been in Japan, stuff like that. And we get lots of people from Britain in the parties, and every now and then there are people from Yorkshire or Lancashire or something up there in that area. It's always fun to rib them, We're asking where you're from, and someone will say, Bradford or Huddersfield or something, And I'll say, oh, yeah, that's just near where I come, right next to where I come from. And I say this in my Canadian voice, and they look at me. And I say, yeah, right next to Bradford, like 20 minutes on the bus. It's a bit of a surreal conversation before I admit what's happened, that I came from there. I do not think of myself as a Yorkshire lad, obviously. So. I guess I should learn to do the voice or something. There's probably on Skype you can get lessons on how to speak Yorkshire or something. I should learn how to do it. That would be fun. Oh, my sister's there too. Soka Soka. My mother and sister are both on the stream. So, my sister doesn't know Halifax at all. She was born in Canada later on. My sister came later than me, so she's 100% Canadian. I'm what do you call it? Naturalized Canadian. So, so it's three. I was born in Halifax. My brother got London, and my sister is Canada. Okay, let's clear off this one. This is mostly what today's work is going to be, just going round and round these different blocks doing this. Actually, after I finish this one, what will be next is, let's see, what will be next is, oh yeah, one of the other grey blocks, we haven't cut the lines yet, so it will be cutting and incising the lines. That'll be after this. So today's going to be all these three different carving jobs. Then after the stream is done, the rest of my day today, this morning, I'm going to be heading upstairs. I'll be doing sizing. I need a batch of paper for Ayumi-san. She's finished her work on the subscription print this month. And, you know, there's really, at the moment, nothing else for her to do now with the shop closed and the online store soon closing down. But as I said, we don't want to lay people off, so as long as there's money in the bank. So she's going to start a new printing project. And actually, this is interesting now. I shouldn't tease too much because I really don't have time for making a video for this, but it would be really cool to have a video about this one. I'm not sure if we can pull it off because Cameron is at home, of course, but the print she's going to make, I brought some blocks from Ome. We had them shipped last week. It's blocks we haven't unwrapped for about 15 years. And what we're going to do as an experiment, and mostly to help her, you know, get some new skills, we're going to do a reprint of the print I put in my Beauties of Four Seasons print as the winter design. And some of you out there, probably John or somebody, he'll know what I'm talking about. You all know about the print that was the autumn design in my Beauties of Four Seasons. It's the one we now call the Scent of Chrysanthemums. What we're going to do is we're going to print the one that was the winter print. I'm not sure if it'll be successful for selling or not, but we're going to give Ayumi-san, a chance to sharpen some skills by working on that one. I guess by the time I look up, someone will have found a link for it, maybe. Somebody got it. John got it. Woodblock.com. That's the print, and there's an issue with this one. There's an issue in that when I made that series, I think it was back in 2004. I don't remember. I still do. I own a copy of the quote original of that print. I have a woodblock print of that design made by I don't know and designed by I don't know. And I took my life in my hands by putting it in that series because I don't own the copyright to it. It's an unknown work. I searched and I searched and I searched and I searched. Couldn't find anything about it. And we're in the same position now, except it should be perhaps easier now that the internet has developed 15 more years further along. It should perhaps be easier to find this. I've done Google reverse image, you know, everything under the sun. And I have not been able to find anything. Like, that's not true. I have not been able to find really who it is. We did find one blurred image on an auction page somewhere that said S. Kaneko. True or not, I don't know, but it could be a Japanese artist called Kaneko who has the first name starting with S. And that's the only clue we've got. as to whose image this is. I guess actually it's cool. A good thing to talk about today because gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, start your search engines. Start your engines. And if somebody could help you trace that, or if there's new information on the net now that wasn't there last time I tried to search for this, which is quite possible. And finding out who designed it could be a question of good news and bad news. If it's totally untraceable, maybe we can still publish it. But if we learn who it is, who owns it, then it will be under copyright protection. We have to then try and find that person, approach them and say, hey, can we make this and pay you a royalty or whatever. So we zoom in, sorry, I forgot. I was zoomed out for some reason, I can't remember why. Sorry about that. Oh, it's hopeless this here. It is hopeless. Good morning, Mom. How you doing? All caps. It's okay. Made in Yorkshire? I wouldn't think so. I think you're about a 50-50 blend of generic British and Canadian. I think anybody meeting you on the street, even if somebody who knew British accents, I don't think they would say, I'm hearing Yorkshire there. This is debatable. I'm not quite sure about this, but I'm not sure. Yeah, you are a bit of a mix. Yorkshire, London, Canada. And that was all a long, long time ago. Australia too, mixed English. Oh. There's 6 different conversations going on at the same time. This is cool. Copyright. There's no like ask the Copyright Office. That's not how copyright works, of course. You know, unless something's been thrown into the Library of Congress. But so this is clearly a Japanese object, and the copyright laws in Japan have morphed over the years. And they are at the moment, copyright laws in Japan here are in transition. For visual work like that, it has been death plus 50 for many, 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 many years. Legislation was put forward over the past few years to change that to death plus 70. That was part of the Japanese legislation to make laws here match other countries as part of that TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership. So Japan was in the process of amending their copyright law to be death plus 70, to bring it into line with the other countries in the TPP agreement. And then America pulled out and that thing crashed. So I don't know if the Japanese law was actually put into effect or not. So Japanese copyright could be death plus 70, it could be death plus 50. I'm not a legal authority here. This was for works, like stuff like works on paper and things. You know, movies and things are different. Chat looks quiet. Everybody's out there on Google searching, trying to find that image. Kaneko. Yes, Kaneko. The print itself, the one I've got, is curious. There there are what we call the Sosaku Hanga prints, works that are designed, carved, and printed by one person. This does not look like one of those. This is carefully carved, carefully printed. This was made, I believe, by professional craftsmen. So that would put it into the Shin Hanga genre rather than the Sosaku genre. Sosaku prints are cut and printed by the designer. Or in theory they are. That's not true. In a lot of cases they're passed out to professional printers. Once the Sosaku artist gets famous, he calls the pros to make them for him. Saito Kiyoshi, people like that. Later work is all prepared by professional craftsmen. But the theory is that Sosaku work is done by the artists themselves. But this is clearly not that type of work. This looks like professional craftsmen. So S. Kaneko, Mr. Kaneko, whoever he is, could be just a designer with nothing to do with woodblock prints. So this could be an image of a sketch from any other genre, not necessarily the printmaking world. It could be anything. It could be just a random sketch that a woodblock workshop actually turned into a woodblock print. It's it. Out of frame, I'm in frame, whatever, out of frame, in frame. Sounds like the oyster delivery for the restaurant next door, so I guess they've decided to defy the governor's orders and open up. I'm sure I know their justification. We're food, people have to eat food. There's another hint about that image, the one we're talking about, the print of the elderly lady. At some point, somewhere along the line, I don't remember the event, but I remember the date. Somebody looked at that image and they told me that going by her headband, there's a thing she's wearing on her head that's sort of a beadwork thing. It's all beads tied together with string and stuff like that. And they said the patterns on that band are the area that we now know as Turkmenistan. So it's Central Asia, 30 somewhere. But I guess apparently it's quite identifiable. Again, I don't know this myself. I'm just repeating what I said. It's identifiable by the beadwork, and that says Turkmenistan. That's another possible data point, possibly true, possibly not true, I don't know. two minds about this. That thing has been flying under the radar for all these years. And by keeping it under the radar, I'm okay with this. It could be that, if we find this and expose it, it's quite possible someone will say, that's my granddad, I want money for this, I don't know, we'll see. I would happily pay a royalty, see if we could find out who it was, and if it was under copyright, and they were cool to the idea, I would happily pay a royalty to the family or something for publishing it. Of course, I'm not trying to be, what's the word, I'm just trying to steal. I would love to know who it is and use it properly. But there is a danger if we do find it, that person may say no. Oh, fridge, I left him. I'm sorry. He's back in the party room the other day. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Where's the name for the image? I just called it winter. There's nothing. We wrote the series of 4 prints was spring, summer, fall, winter. So there's no name for it. The print that I own myself, the one from which I copied my information there, is just a print. There's no signature. There's no nothing. There's no title, there's no embossing, there's no name, there's no pencil mark, there's no date, there's no nothing. It looks like a print from some workshop that was just sort of tossed aside. And I don't remember, somewhere there's an image that said Kaneko, but I think it was an auction. Somebody had another copy of this on sale on auction somewhere, and there was like a couple of pictures on the auction, a picture in the frame, and a close-up of one corner, and it seemed to say S. Kaneko. I've got a copy filed somewhere, but I don't have access to it right now. So. It's kind of cool. Me. Of course, the main registration mark. an 80-page book for the beauties of the four seasons. I don't know, is that related to my work? I don't know. I mean, the concept Shiki no Bijin is not something I created, so there are other artworks with the same name. So I'm not sure what you're referring to. It may not be anything to do with me, I don't know. I'm in it for the babes, the booze, and the money. The babes, the booze, and the bucks. One day, one day. Dr. Johnson, while you're here speaking about, babes and bucks and whatever, how's your own business doing? Is it sort of sleeping during all this chaos, or is it, John, for those you know, John's a photographer specializing in real estate photography. Is that work now disappeared for a while, or are you okay, or I don't know. Maybe people can't go out to see houses, maybe it's all virtual, maybe his work is increasing. Interesting. Okay, I think that one also might be done in quotation marks. A lot of the stuff needs testing and fiddling once printing starts. So done is always a loose word at this point. So another gradation area, the cartouche and the sky. The sky for sure will get two impressions. It'll get a deep dark blue, a dark grey steely blue, and then it'll get a gradation along the top of it. So that's another two faces done. So where are we now? We have the key block is done, the river and one gradation, the sky and another gradation, and the cartouche is done. And we have one of the grey blocks with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gradations on it. It's time to move on to the next grey block, 1, 2, 3, 4 gradations on it. And after that, we will still have one more block to do. There will be a block with grey, non-gradation, grey printed areas at the bottom of the mountains, the bottom of the islands, and some other areas that will just be printing flat grey. I'm essentially out of business, he says. So, I thought maybe because it was all virtual. No idea. Is this wood drier than normal? Why does it pit like this? I'm not quite sure what you mean. This wood, as far as dryness goes, it's pretty much our normal way. This awful series of marks you're seeing comes because this is not a well-selected piece of wood. In normal circumstances, a piece of wood like this, when it came to our desk for testing, we would have thrown it aside. It just doesn't cut smoothly enough. It's fibrous, more fibrous than we would like. This is not normal circumstances. Nothing to do with the virus right now. Just in recent years, we have had huge trouble getting stable, good source of wood. So wood that would normally have been tossed aside is now being used. It will do its job, it will print the thing, but it's not so much fun to work with. It's a long story, whatever regular viewers here know what's happening. What cats are still open for submissions? At the end of the line, clearing weather for sure. And we've got autumn moon now is too many. Autumn Moon, Evening Glow, I have lots and lots and lots of good submissions. Descending Geese, I have 2 that I really like, so it's probably not so good to ask anybody else to send for those. Returning Sales, there are a few interesting ones in the batch, but nothing that makes me say, oh my god, I've got to use that one. So Returning Sales is technically open. As I said, Clearing Weather. Evening Bell, oh, I've got a nice one for Evening Bell, but just one, and it really wouldn't be fair to just get one and close it off. So Evening Bell is sort of, if you've got a really good idea, throw it in. The one that we're really desperate for, I'm going through the mix, oh my god, is Clearing Weather. Because it's so vague. There's interesting pictures I've received, but there's nothing that says, that's it. Like we did when we saw this one. The instant I saw this, it was, that's it. So we're sort of at that situation with this. It really needs me to get onto the update page and get some more people into level 2. Send some more checks, get some more people doing rough workup. Was that the 8? Did I mention all 8? I don't remember here. Hang on a sec. What else today? On the NekoHakkei.com page, on the updates page, project updates, right down at the bottom. Evening Snow, Night Rain, they're done. Autumn Moon, Evening Bell. Evening Glow too, we've got 2 or 3 really nice ones for that. Descending Geese. The biggest question, as I said, your Clearing Weather is the biggest question mark. Returning Sales, I'm waiting for a dynamite idea. I've got some sort of interesting stuff, but I'm waiting for a dynamite idea. An Evening Bell, I've really only got one that I thought was really nice and interesting. So a few more of that one wouldn't hurt. S&T, what time is it? 9:14. Should we do that? Because I've got some stuff that's been sitting here from some days ago. It's already 9:14. There's no reason to start a new block. Let's do that. Let's, for the last 10 minutes, let's look at a show and tell. $9:14 already. Oh my God. Okay, let's move for a minute the outside view back for a sec. Okay, it's small stuff again. And one of the things here you've seen before, I think. What have we got here? No. Oh, sure. Okay. Well, you haven't seen this before, I think. 8 to 9. 8 to 9. How to explain this? This, not explain too much, just go tell story. I'm in Yamada Shoten, the print dealer downtown. I almost never get in there now because I don't have a budget for buying prints. But the Yamada Shoten, it's one of the print shops in the Jimbocho area of Tokyo. I used to be a very regular customer of theirs for 2 reasons. I used to buy stuff for myself. This was before I sold prints at all, just buy stuff for myself. And then when my daughter Fumi-chan, when she was just at the end of high school, just before going into college, she used to come over to visit me. She was living in Canada, and she came over to visit me every summer. And I don't remember how we got started. I guess I bought some stuff in Yamada Shoten, and she said, Dad, what if I put some of this stuff on eBay? And this was in the early days. This is like 1997 or 1998 or 1999, something like this. eBay was just starting. Anyway, long story short, she and I ended up shopping in Jimbocho. I bought the prints, told her what they were. She took them back to Canada. I sort of set up her little business. She opened web pages, and it exploded. And she became, for a few years, an actual print dealer. She saved up the money she got from selling them, came back to Japan the next winter holiday. We went downtown. I was the advisor, the background guy who told her what they were, what was good, what was bad. She learned, invested her money, went back to Canada, put them on eBay. And she developed a little reputation. People trusted her because some people knew what was behind this. And she did that for 3 or 4 or 5 years, bought herself a little sports car, and it was her first taste of business. She's now an independent businesswoman in her own right, nothing to do with about prints. it was a really nice start for her, setting up her little business like that. She had people that complained and didn't pay, and good part and bad part, lots of parts of business. So it's really, really good training. Anyway, one day the two of us are in there. We're in Yamada Shoten. And I'm browsing now with two things in mind. Looking at prints in the shop. Oh, I'd like that for myself. And of course she's browsing, and she's next to me, and she's browsing herself stuff to get for hers. And we're standing there doing this, and a guy comes from behind the counter, and he's got a cardboard box. Now in Yamada Shoten, this was before their renovation, most of their stuff was in drawers. You would open drawers and pick out stuff, and some of it was in browser bins at the top, kind of like we have in our shop at Asakusa. And there was tables there, and they would have stuff in cardboard boxes, and you browse through it at the table. So she and I are standing there, and the guy brings a cardboard box out, boom, puts it on the table. And can I look at it? Yeah, go guys, whatever. So I look at this, pull the first one out, and I'm like, I want this. And I pull the second one out, and I'm like, I want this. And my daughter comes over, what are you doing? What are you doing? She says, oh my God, I can sell those so great. And I'm saying, oh no, you're not having this. And she says, Dad, I want these. And I'm like, you're not having these. And the whole box, what they had done was, the shop had obviously, people used to come in and shop up the stairs, what's called kai-tori in Japanese. People with a little album or book or prints, they don't know what to do with it, they sell it to the shop. This doesn't happen anymore because people sell it themselves in auctions. But sometime previous, somebody must have come up the stairs with an album from early Taisho or late Meiji, and the shop must have looked at it and said, okay, give you $5 for it, whatever, or $10, and they did. And they took the album and they busted up, page by page by page by page by page, just ripped the album apart and put it in their little sales things and sold it one page, one page, one page, one page, one page. I forget the price. $15 per page or something. I don't remember. I shouldn't say so because I really can't remember. Anyway. Let's have a look at some prints. I'm just talking. And it was a set of these beautiful, it wasn't a set, it was a batch of these beautiful, and this goes on page after page after page after page after page. These are drop-dead, gorgeous little woodblock prints, and they are designed by, they all have the seal, Hiroaki, which is the stage name, art name for the guy we know as Takahashi Shote. And these would date from Taisho or early Showa. And the target market would have been, the publisher would have made these and they would have stuck them into little cards. You get a piece of paper, fold it in half, stick the print on the front of it, tip it on the front of it, and people would buy these cards with envelopes. Dear Mabel, we're enjoying our trip to Japan, hope you wish you were here, blah, 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 and send it off. So it was like not a Christmas card, it was a greeting card. So to make the greeting cards, thousands and thousands and thousands of these prints would have been made. And they're all sort of a little bit exotic scenery and stuff like this. Some of them are rip-offs of an old ukiyo-e print. Some of them are traditional. This is part of the old 10 Views of the Ox. This is the boy coming home. He's no longer worried about life. He's letting him go over the ox. Yeah, long story. I'm sorry, whatever. Anyway, the thing I've got to be able to do, I've got to be able to show you how beautiful these are. And that's because they're all on beautiful washi paper. They're super embossed. Let me try and get it near the light here. Or not. Okay, you can see it there, I think. It's stunning. There's the scale, you can see them. I don't have a measuring scale, but there's my hand for scale. And they're beautifully, beautifully done. Art value is zero. They're just quaint, exotic pictures to make foreigners buy stuff about it looks like something from Japan. But I don't care about the art, I care about the objects. Anyway, I won the battle with my daughter. I just said, no way are you getting these. I am sorry, no way are you getting these. And I took the whole thing. I just took the whole box right back to the counter. The guy brought the box out. It was like, I forget, 15, 20 pages with 5 or 6 on each page. I just took the box right back to the counter. He says, what's wrong? I said, I would like to buy these. He's like, the box? Yeah, the box. As you can see, we keep them in postage stamp albums. Né? These are albums that are designed for storing postage stamps. And as you can see, this is absolutely not great art in any way whatsoever. But they are cool, wonderful objects. And the sort of, what's the word, a bit of a sarcastic viewpoint on it. Takahashi Shote was a world-class artist. He's one of the transition guys. When he first started working, he was working as a designer in ukiyo. And ukiyo in a Meiji era woodblock printed newspapers and stuff like this doing illustration. And he actually made ukiyo prints. And then of course that work disappeared and blew up. And he became one of the first shinhanga designers, even before it was called shinhanga. And this for him must have been, this was just hack work. Some publisher must have phoned up and said, okay, look, give me a bunch of designs, blah, 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 blah. And he said, sure boss, how much, whatever. And he must have just tossed them off. He wouldn't have done full color water-ups. He would have just done sketches, passed them into the publisher. And the publisher then, they know what to do with it. This must be would it be cormorant fishing? I don't know, or maybe somebody knows more about this than I. I don't see cormorants with a string around them, so maybe this is a night fisherman. The fire attracts fish and they scoop them up. I don't know the background here. They are very quaint, exotic-y, Japanese-looking stuff, and the people would have bought the postcards by the dozens. And some, maybe John here, I'm not sure, people with knowledge of my work going back a ways, if they see these two, is that going to ring any bells? Is that going to ring any bells? We have a raftsman. Chocolate egg to the first person who can tell me the connection between these two. Silence. Silence. Okay, I'll find a link. Hang on one sec here. Here we go. So I stole it. I used this and this, put them together, made a quote original adaptation from my own cinema albums. The question here, is the orange in the last page was printed on the leaves? Just a minute, we're going back to orange on the last page printed on the leaves. Are we talking about the crow? The vermilion is printed on the khaki, the leaves are green. Is the orange on the last page printed on the leaves? I'm sorry, I don't get the question, I'm sorry. Oh, this one. You talking about this one? Well, the orange is a wood block. I know each of the colors you see here, there's a blue block, an orange block, a brown block. The leaves are printed. Everything's wood block. There's nothing painted here. Everything's wood block. That number is not mine, by the way, of course, some previous owner. The dark ones are nice too because they really show off the paper well. Beautiful embossing. You can feel the snow. Bump, 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 bump with your fingers. Some are more boring, some are interesting. It's a real variation. Remember, the target market was Westerners in Japan. There's a group of them too. I don't know what this is all about. A group of them. These are sort of similar to what they called Yokohama-e at the end of the ukiyo era. It was popular to show, news stuff, and the foreign ships that were coming into Yokohama at that time were, of course, a main topic of the ukiyo of the day. And you can see some of them, they're either derived from or they're precursors of. Shote has this as a main Shin Hanga print later on. This looks like a Don Quixote. I wonder if that's what it's supposed to represent. You tell me, your guess is as good as mine. A bit jokey, someone. And the same themes come back again and again and again. The night, rain, whatever, This is, for those of you who don't know what this is, the background here. They've done the background in imitation of kind of a mist. And those lines, these are not carved. What they did was they got a grey block to print, and at the time of rubbing with the baron, instead of print it all grey, you just take your baron and rub, boom, boom, boom. And the dots, the pressure points on the baron, just scrape a little bit and leave lines. And normally for us, a smooth colour means the pressure points of the baron have gone over and over and over and over so many times that it becomes one single solid colour. But if you give up part way along, you see the baron lines, and it's called Baren Suji, trace marks of the baron, Baren Suji. You've seen this one also, another one, right? This one. Where would that be? That would be, hold on a sec, let's try and find that one. There we go, there's another one we used. There's the same, this is Baren Suji, this is a good one. Let's take it out and have a look at it. Again, none of this is great art, it's just really interesting visually, and the objects themselves to touch and feel are so much pleasure as a physical object. We know what this is about, of course. There's a fire breaking out in Edo, and a fireman is somewhere in New Zealand. Oh, this is Rosa. Good morning, good morning. You ready for a day of scanning and stuff up there?
Yep.
That's on one more page. On the final page, just the last two. That's it. I don't know how many there were. I think they mounted them 4 or 5 on each page, and as I said, I bought the whole box of them. It really wasn't too expensive, maybe 15 or 20 bucks for 4 or 5 of them, so maybe like $5 each. I don't remember. I'm sorry, I shouldn't quote so carefully. $5 each or something. Cheap at twice the price. And my daughter, whatever, just sometimes I win and sometimes she won. I gave her a lot of really, really nice stuff that at this point I regret. It helped her with business, and she got her money out of it. She bought her sports car and stuff like that. But some prints that I really, really wanted to hold on to ended up being dispersed and sold around the world. But whatever. Yeah, this was a fire warning. This is a fire alarm. Somebody has seen a fire, he's gone up the ladder, he's ringing the bell. Bang, 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 bang. This is an old-time fire alarm. So yeah, we're part of our Neko Hakkei print collection. At some point we get them scanned and online where everybody can see them. I don't know, who knows. Certainly not going to promise anything like that in the near future. But one day, these will be all available in high res for you to have a look at online. together with information about the story, where they came from, stuff like that. Okay, there we go. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. It's now Saturday afternoon. The next stream will be Monday morning, and as far as I can see, I will still be here, same time, same station, carving on the cat blocks. Still, the set of blocks for the first print in the 8 years of cats. Am I ignoring a question? I'm sorry, a hard question to answer. Whatever, I'll try and look later, I'm sorry. Okay, anyway, I gotta get out of here. Rose and I have lots of work to do. The flea market has been really successful online recently, and she's gonna try and catch up today and do some more scanning, getting some more prints online. See you Monday morning. Stay safe, people, and stay indoors like we are doing in Tokyo here, most of us, as much as possible. I'll stream the outside view just for a minute. I'm going to turn the microphone off this time. Here's the outside view. Look at this. Looks like a normal Saturday. Okay, microphone going down now, and then I'll turn the stream off in 4 or 5 minutes. Thanks so much, guys. See you next time.